Hey, Kev, let's follow this trail over here. This looks like there might be something waiting down there.
All right. Hey, wait a minute. Do you hear that?
Yeah, I thought it was just me. What the heck is that?
I don't know what that is. Whoa, do you smell that too?
That's unbelievable. Hey, look.
What the?
Hey, look, those branches are moving over there.
What the heck is that?
Holy cow, is that what I think it is? Look at that thing.
Oh my God.
It's a freaking Sasquatch. Welcome to the Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters podcast. I'm your host, W.J. Sheehan. Hello, everybody, and thank you once again for joining my brother and I for what is going to be a fantastic show. My name is W.J. Sheehan, and I am the author of a series of books entitled Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters, all of which are available at Amazon in ebook and paperback format. And if you're an audiophile and like to listen to a little something driving around or when you're out jogging, you can get volumes 1 through 6 at Audible, iTunes, and Amazon. And one more note before I bring my brother in. Some of you have been requesting autographed books. And what I've done is I've put up a selection on eBay. So if you just type in your search, autographed Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters, you're going to find them. And you'll know it's me because in the book description, when you open it up, I'm going to say, I am the author of these books, blah, 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 blah. So you'll know it's me. Anyways, Kev, come on in, brother. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you, Bill?
Marvelous, marvelous. I have a particularly cool story today to tell the folks and you. And you're going to get a real kick out of this one. Folks, you don't know that just before the show, my brother has become quite the model builder, and he favors old warbirds, World War II, at least for now. And he showed me his latest build, which is almost done, right, Kev?
Yeah, just about. I got to finish up the weathering on it.
Okay, and he's doing a gangbusters job on it. But the latest plane he built, now I had no knowledge of this, is a Hellcat, Grumman Hellcat. And it just so happens that today in this account there is a mention of the Hellcat.
Oh, that is so strange, Phil.
It is strange. That's what I talk about synchronicity all the time, you know, that, I mean, you can't make that up. You know, you have.
No, it's ridiculous.
You never told me you were building.
And you have no idea what I'm building at any point in time because I never show it to you until it's kind of almost done or completely done.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, that's the weirdness of the whole thing, you know?
Yeah, that is wild.
So,
Very
what do we
cool.
have in our Cryptids in the News and Other Oddities segment?
Yeah, we're going to go with some Sasquatch today.
Excellent.
Yeah, and we're going up to Klemtu in British Columbia.
Yeah, that's a creep fest over there. You know, Les Straub spent a fair amount of time in that region when he was doing the Survivor Man Bigfoot series.
Yeah, I actually saw one of his episodes where he went canoeing up in the lakes there. He got permission from the First Nations people and went canoeing and was camping up there by himself, like in this hotbed area of Bigfoot sightings or Sasquatch sightings. I don't know if you saw that one. It's pretty wild. You know, he's got bear spray with him and a couple of these flashbang bear repellent sticks. And then meanwhile, like, he gets up in the morning and he looks at the sand around his tent on the edge of the lake. And there's like these huge wolf tracks and huge bear footprints. And then he took a couple of castings of what he believed to be a Sasquatch.
Yeah, you know, and to me, bear spray's as good as hairspray in those situations. You know what I'm saying, Kev?
Oh man, but I mean, think about like a pack of wolves.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they tear
I'm
your
gonna
ass up.
spray them.
Yeah.
Like, that's just gonna get the first two of them mad.
Yeah. When those bad boys surround something,
Oh man, that's got to be the worst way to go, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
they
I'd
just
rather face off with a grizzly because in one swipe you're done than a pack of wolves.
yeah, I mean they just surround you and they start edging in on you one by one,
Yeah, just start nipping at you and tear you apart. I mean, horrible.
Yeah, I told you that story of the DEC guy I spoke to months ago when I asked him about how the wolves and the bears interact. I think it was in the Wyoming or Idaho. And he said that they had been tagging bears to see where they hibernated. And upon approaching some of the hibernation areas, they were finding bears torn apart by wolves.
Oh, yikes.
That's crazy,
Yeah, not shocking though, right?
That's the
Not
wildness
shocking.
of nature. They don't care, man. They're just vicious. And if they
Hungry.
want
They
you,
gotta
they're
eat.
going to take you out.
They got to eat.
Yep, so does a Bigfoot. I'm hungry.
Yeah, so this place is, of course, it's British Columbia, so it's quite beautiful. And this village of Klemtu is on a little island called Swindle Island, and it's kind of northwest of Vancouver, so out on the coast of the southwestern edge of British Columbia.
Okay.
So not that far from Vancouver, but very rural. And it's pretty close, maybe 100 miles or so from what I could guess, looking at the map, from that town of Ahusat, the First Nation location, where I did an episode on the fisheries officer that sighted the Sasquatch on the shore, if you remember that one.
Yeah, very interesting. So, again, here we are with what we know of the area, that there are apparently multiple creatures around there, at the very least multiple, if not, dozens. I mean, we have no way of knowing what the numbers are. So,
super rural place. In Klemtu, it sits in the middle of what's called the Great Bear Rainforest, which is around 40,000 square miles of rainforest in British Columbia there. So like I said, pretty darn rural. It's got these deep fjords, these glacial lakes surrounded by cliffs and stuff like that. Very hard to get in and around. And then once you start hiking too, it seemed like if you look at Les Stroud's episode where he's hiking around there in the woods, very difficult to get around. Not many trails, and then the vegetation is full of that Devil's Club plant that I told you about when I was up in Alaska, where it's like 6 foot high, big leaves, and covered with gigantic thorns that'll kill you.
Yeah, aptly named Devil's Club. And I did see that episode with Les, and another thing worthy of note when you're in that area, number one, anything could get the jump on you in a heartbeat, and you wouldn't know what hit you. Yeah. The other thing is all of the felled timber covered in moss. I mean, like one wrong step and you'd have a turned ankle at the very least.
Oh, yeah. And again, like in this area where he where Les, just as an example, here in the Klemtu area where he was looking for Sasquatch on that episode, he paddled a canoe. I was going to say kayak, but it was a canoe all the way up to the other end of this lake. I mean, nothing there. If you ever got hurt, forget it.
Yeah, you're on your own with your hairspray.
Yeah, no cell coverage, nothing. You better have a satellite phone and somebody who cares.
Help!
Somebody who's got a chopper.
Hey, maybe you have one of those necklaces where you hit the button and you can say, Help, I've been attacked and I can't get up.
I've fallen and I can't get up. And there's a black-eyed children looking at me.
A black-eyed kid steals your canoe.
Awesome. So I'm going to talk about a couple of these accounts that are documented, and some of the material I'm going to go through today comes from the website Mental Floss, our friends at Mental Floss, which they have a lot of cool stuff up there, not just on cryptids, just kind of interesting stuff to think about. So this first encounter happened in the evening on during the summer of 2001, and the gentleman who reports it, his name is Doug Niesloss, and he and a few of his friends, they were out on the boat on Klemtu Bay, right in this area of Klemtu, and this is on the ocean side of Swindle Island. And they were having a big driftwood fire. You know, it's a beautiful night. They talk about how the Milky Way was glittering like a dusting of powdered sugar up in the sky. So you could kind of imagine being there on the beach.
Yeah.
Beautiful starlit sky, ocean next to you, and this beautiful driftwood fire going, right, with all the colors of the salt and that in the driftwood. Pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely very cool.
Yeah, so they're sitting there hanging out around the fire, and this gentleman, Niesloss, noticed something. Basically, he's looking toward the woods from the beach while he's sitting around the fire, and he sees like a partially hidden face of something looking at him from behind a big tree stump. And it's kind of lit up by the fire. So like this creature coming up and taking a peek at them from around this giant stump. And he's just sitting there staring at it, like he stops talking and he's thinking, what the heck is going on? Yeah. And then his younger brother is with him, and he sees his older brother looking over there, so he follows his gaze, and then all of a sudden everybody's looking over there, and they see this creature that all of a sudden stands up, and they say it was at least 7 feet tall.
Yeah, it's a big bugger, boy.
Yeah. And covered in hair. They went and saw the footprints as soon as it walked away, and they were 15 inches long. Wow. And the creature, while it... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, whenever we talk about the height of a Bigfoot, I'm always in a room with an 8-foot ceiling. And, when you just look up, Kevin, when you stand away from the computer when we're done, yeah, and you just consider that leering down at you or leering at you from any distance, that would really be intimidating.
Yep.
These beasts are big, big buggers, man.
Yeah, so, these guys, they're sitting around the fire. They see this Bigfoot, Sasquatch, looking at them from the firelit fire. The thing stands up, 7 feet tall, and then it backs slowly into the forest and disappears. So you might say, if you're sitting there, well, seriously, maybe it was a bear, right? It's dark out, they got a fire, it is a starlit night. Well, let me tell you that this gentleman, Niesloss, turns out he's Canada's first licensed Indigenous bear guide. So I think he knows what a bear looks like.
Yeah. I'd say I give him the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly. I think it's not a bear. I think if he says it's a Sasquatch, it is a Sasquatch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and he talks about it that... he has seen some other Sasquatches since then, but that was his first encounter. And he says also, I paddled my kayak along the island here and had a humpback whale come up right underneath my kayak. But he says, by far the scariest moment of my life was this first sighting of the Sasquatch.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And again, to fall back on, where's the terror, Bill? Come on. Really, come on. What do you think? You're like freaking one of the X-Men or something, like nothing bothers you? Can you imagine that, Kev? You're in the dark and one by one, each person starts to see this thing kind of leering out from behind this massive tree stump, and then it stands up. I mean, that would just freak the hair off your head.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Holy smoke.
And, this whole area there of Klemtu, it's a place that's populated by First Nations people. The population looks like it's about 800 to 1,000 people, so, relatively small village there. And they call the creature, right? A lot of the First Nations people have their own name, right, in their various languages. They call it a bagwis, Bagwis.
Bagwis.
And they say that translates into ape-like appearance.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, and again, they would know if they're seeing a bear or a bagwis, I would imagine.
Exactly. And they also, it's pretty interesting, Bill, they show, I have a picture of it, and I'll post it on our website, BigfootTerrorInTheWoods.com. They have in their village a sculpture into a rock of a bagwis that's, believed to be hundreds of years old.
Oh,
so it's kind of part of their, the indigenous people have been talking about and seeing Sasquatch in this region of Klemtu for hundreds of years.
That picture, Kev, is it worth posting? Can you see some?
Oh, I'm definitely going to post it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
It's very cool. And I'll post some pictures too of the surrounding area because it does give you a better feel for it. And folks, if you get a chance, look at that episode of Les Stroud, Survivor Man Bigfoot. I think it might be season 6. If my memory's serving me. I didn't write that down, but it's pretty good. But so this Nislas, he talks a lot about the fact that, some folks don't believe, not local folks there, but, generally he says some scientists don't believe that Sasquatch exists, and he's had multiple encounters. And again, he's a licensed bear guide, so he knows the difference between his animals.
Oh, yeah.
He's got the Fisher-Price farm. He knows what a cow looks like. A bear. He probably knows what sounds they make, too.
Yeah, and this is the
farmer. Exactly. One of the things that folks say, that leads them to think that they don't exist is that no one's ever found a skeleton of one. But he talks about the fact that he sees bear all the time in this Klemtu region. But he, in fact, has never seen a bear skeleton either.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, we hear that over and over again. And as a matter of fact, not to just keep jumping on Les's bandwagon, and I don't mind. I think the guy is fantastic. He said the same thing. He's never found a bear skeleton. And I've had numerous people that I've interviewed say, you never find a bear skeleton, even though there's said to be X amount per square mile where they are. It's rare enough to see one, let alone find a skeleton.
Yeah.
And then even like the cougar goes off to die.
Yeah, it hides.
Yeah, so wherever they generally can be seen in their territory, they leave that and go somewhere else to hide and die.
Yep.
So I mean, come on, it's no jump for me to just say you'll probably never find a skeleton. I mean, Come on. I'm surrounded by deer over here, Kev. I've never seen a skeleton of a deer.
Yep.
I
have seen deer skeletons out hiking, after they were attacked. I don't think they laid down and died. It wasn't like an attacked skeleton.
Okay.
It was more like a bear got them.
Yeah, they were taken apart.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And in these folks up there in Klemtu, they say that the Sasquatch, it's an area that's rich in food. Everything from the salmon there in the streams and rivers, and to clams. So the clam beds, it's a tidal shore there, and it has very rich clam beds, some big, healthy clams. And they say that the Sasquatch has been seen eating the clams and digging the clams out in the flats.
Yeah, this is not the only location where that has been seen.
Right.
They know. I mean, come on. They know what's going on around them and where they can get whatever they can get.
Yeah, and I've seen the big, huge brown bear, the grizzly, up in Alaska, digging for clams as well at low tide. It's amazing. Like, you wouldn't think huge bears are eating clams, but they like them too.
I guess they can smell them, or they're trained to do that generationally by the mothers. When the cubs come along, she brings them down by the shore and shows them, this is another way you can get something to eat.
Exactly. And we actually saw last year when we were up there, we saw a mother and 3 cubs where she was showing them how to clam.
Oh, that's cool. Amazing.
Yeah, just shocking.
Yeah.
So they also talk about up here in Klemtu, in some of these sightings, that these Sasquatches scream in terrifying, high-pitched tones. Mm. And Nislas, again, he talks about some memories of going on a clamming trip with a group of other young people and went out in the middle of the night, which was a good time, they were saying, to get the clams. And they pulled the boat up on the sand, and they filled up their buckets with clams, had a good harvest, and then they started hearing these piercing screams getting closer and closer, and they were with like a very well-respected elder, and he was saying, "Don't worry about it. You know, it's a normal thing. You know, it's just the Sasquatch, and they'll keep their distance." But then it kept getting closer and closer. Then they decided to skedaddle and get out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a report where somebody heard a Sasquatch screaming, "I want my MTV." I don't know if it was true or not, but, you know. I guess they need entertainment, too.
Yeah, so, I mean, this place looks beautiful. Definitely putting it on my bucket list to head up there sometime when I'm near Vancouver to try and explore further north and see some of these islands, because they just look spectacular. I don't know if I'll canoe up to the far end of the fjord and go camping with the wolves and bears by myself with no weapons, though, you know, just to be clear.
Never mind the Sasquatch print castings next to the tent. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my.
Exactly. There's plenty there to get you.
Boy, oh my goodness. And don't forget your hairspray.
Awesome.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's Klemtu, British Columbia.
Fantastic, Kev.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and that's a great report. Again, you know, encouraging everybody, as I did a little while ago, to get Les Straub's DVD set off his website. You won't regret that, man, because it's just excellent footage, good insight, a really good walkthrough of some potential Bigfoot evidence. Some of this stuff is inarguable to me when you see it and you're there and you know the area. I mean, you might as well say the man on the moon put it there if you're going to say a Sasquatch put it there, because nobody else could have put it there.
Yeah.
Nothing else could have done rationally what was done there.
Yeah.
I think about the guy who said that the tree structure that he came across was made from predominantly trees that weren't located where it was found. So, you know, the trees might have come from 100 yards away. Right. In another little location in the forest where they grew, but they weren't there. So just that alone, if you were a man or two men or three men going about this hoax in the middle of nowhere, schlepping hundreds of pounds of trees for great yardage to lean them up in some type of strange configuration, to what end? What is the purpose in that?
Yeah.
You know, it's so maddening to think of somebody saying, yeah, well, a couple of guys did that, you know.
Yeah, not likely.
Not likely. And the ends of the trees aren't sawn. They're broken, snapped. I mean,
No doubt about it.
Yeah, the plot just thickens as to what really did this,
Yeah.
Anyways.
By the way, I'll apologize to our listeners for some of the background noise. I think there's some F-18s buzzing the house here.
Great. Crank up the volume. I want to hear them.
It's the sounds of freedom.
Yeah. Nothing like F-18s ripping around your neighborhood.
Yeah. It's like, whoa. That wasn't a 737.
Yeah. Young people don't realize, but you remember, Kev, we were in the runway pattern of the airport growing up for some of the planes coming in.
Yeah.
And some of them old 727s and whatnot, before they got these quieter engines.
Oh, yeah.
They used to really roar coming over, man.
Yeah, they had that one. I think it was back 111 or something like that it was called.
Yeah.
Before the MD-80s and the more modern planes. And that thing, they actually banned it because it was too loud.
Yeah.
And it would rattle the windows on the house, I remember.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, they'd come, what do you think they were coming over? Maybe 2,500?
Yeah, I mean, they weren't super low, but those things, and they were wide open. This was before they did any of those noise abatement takeoffs, where they get up to a safe altitude, maybe 1,000 feet or something, and then they throttle back while they fly over the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Back then they did the equivalent of hitting the afterburners.
Yeah, it's unforgettable, some of the things that we've seen. And speaking of things that you've seen being unforgettable, wait till you hear this one.
Let's go.
This following sighting was shared with me by a third-generation family member whose granddad had actually had the sighting while airborne in 1954. This is what Tim Welch had to share with me. When I saw your little ad, Bill, I decided to give you a ring and share with you what had been told to me by my father, who passed in 1987. My dad was 14 years old when World War II had ended. His father, my granddad, had been a Navy Hellcat fighter pilot during the war and had returned home safely. Sometime shortly after the war, my grandparents had moved from Southern to Northern California. Within 2 years of having moved, my father told me that his dad had purchased a Piper J3 Cub airplane. My granddad was sharing a grass landing strip with another man named Smith, who owned and maintained the property where the landing strip was located. According to my dad, Mr. Smith also had a barn large enough to keep both planes in and to work on if needed. I think my dad said that Mr. Smith had an Aronca Champ, if my memory serves me correctly. My granddad bought the Piper specifically because of its low-speed performance and its ability to get in and out of short takeoff situations, such as the grass strip they were using. Now, as amazing as this may seem, my granddad was one of the Navy pilots in the famous Battle of the Philippine Sea in June of 1944, which became better known as the Marianas Turkey Shoot. He and the other pilots who were involved on June 19th through the 20th had so devastated the Japanese Navy and its air armada that from that time forward they were no longer to wage naval warfare against us, with the war ending not too long after that. Even more amazing was this. My dad, being the son of a great naval aviator, was afraid of heights and flew but once with his father and never took to the sky again. Nevertheless, my dad told me that in April of 54, he had just come home from work and was abruptly met by his dad, who was waiting at the front door. As he pulled up his truck, he said that his father had said to him before he had even taken his coat off, "Son, you're not going to believe what I saw today in the mountains." As soon as my father was ready, my granddad told him to sit down so he could tell him what happened. He said he had taken Lucy, which was what he had named his cub, up for a ride by Bluff Creek over the snow-covered mountains. He was buzzing over some elk, I believe, low and slow, trying to spook them, which he apparently did as a source of fun. He said he was only 100 feet or so over treetop level when he spotted what appeared to be a trail of snowshoe tracks heading around the side of this low mountain. He said that they looked very fresh, and he decided to follow them in hopes of catching up to whoever had laid them down and give them the old wing rock, hello. Banking the plane hard, he turned about and was following the tracks around the mountain, where at about a mile out from his first position, he ran across what he described as a huge, man-like being covered in brown fur, which started to run as he approached it. My granddad said he flew over it and took a hard bank, positioning himself to come back in and over the beast again. This time, he was at or near treetop level. He told my dad that it was easily 4 times the size of a man and was running through the snow with abandon, trying to get away from him and the plane on 2 legs. Once again, he banked the plane and came around for a third pass, this time telling my dad that the beast had made it to a patch of pines and apparently had hidden beneath them. My granddad told him that he loitered, as he called it, over the area for about 15 minutes and had even flown away for 10 minutes, hoping that the creature would think he had left, but no such luck. When he returned, the tracks had still ended by the pines, which told him that the beast was staying put, and so he left. Not only did I contact you to tell you this amazing story, but later in life and before my dad's passing, we had both become aware of the happenings in and around this very same area in regards to Bigfoot being seen or their footprints being found. Granddad had seen it before they did, and he had no idea what to call it or what he had seen. He did say that the creature ran as fast or faster than the elk he had buzzed, and that its stamina appeared to be incredible, having run a considerable distance before reaching the trees at full speed without so much as a stutter in its step. After that day, my dad said that rarely did a week go by that my granddad didn't tell someone about what he had seen in the mountains that April day. Granddad had said that the creature at treetop level seemed to be 8 or 9 feet tall and as broad as a rhino. When he initially saw the tracks, they appeared to have been made by a man in snowshoes, which will give you a good indicator as to just how big they actually were. My dad said that every spring after that, as well as on many other days, his father scoured the area in the hopes of seeing it again, but it never happened. That day was to be the first and the last time he would see the creature or its tracks until the day he died. What do you think of that, Kev?
Whoa. Now, that was California?
Yeah, Northern California.
Yeah, another hotbed.
Yeah, and...
that is wild, Bill. I mean, it reminds me of, was it the firefighter in the helicopter? Same area, that saw the Bigfoot running along. It wasn't in the snow, but they saw it from above, from the helicopter, too.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Reminds me of that account.
Talk about increasing your odds. I mean, if you're looking and you got sharp eyes and you're flying over large areas, you could easily catch one of these things in the open.
Well, especially in the snow, right? To be able to see the tracks like that, that helps a lot. You know,
Yeah.
Of course, he thought it was snowshoe tracks, which is reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, big, and he figured, let me go over and say hello to whoever's stomping around up here today, you know? But really interesting, though, you know, we're talking in the 50s, and Northern California was probably pretty much vacant at that point in time. I mean, relative to the amount of real estate out there, I don't think the population was great.
No, pretty quiet place. A lot of, folks taking care of farmland and stuff like that, too. So
Yeah,
even where
yeah.
it's populated.
Really interesting, you know, and kind of cool. How do you like this guy's description of the J3 Cub and an Aranca?
Yeah, Rocket Champ. That's what Dad used to fly. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I
Very
mean,
cool.
those were like really low and slow tail draggers, right?
Yeah, we have a couple of J3 Cubs that fly around here from a local grass field. And we see them on the lake sometime when we're out on the boat, and the boat's faster than they are. It's kind of fun. Pretty cool.
Yeah. You know, I remember going up to the old Rhinebeck Aerodrome once.
Oh, that was super cool.
Yeah, and, you know, that was a grass field in the middle of the woods, upstate New York. And, you know, you remember the old movies where the biplanes would be rat-a-tat-tat trying to shoot each other out of the sky. But when you'd see one of these planes take off, you'd say to yourself, geez, all I'd have to do was stand in the woods with a rifle and I could shoot you.
Yeah, not that hard to hit.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, it's harder to shoot clays at the range than it would be to shoot you in the cockpit of one of them.
That's probably true, yeah. Super cool.
Yeah, how do you like this guy, though, flying around? And he did hang around the area for a while, hoping this thing would emerge from the trees. But either it was too tuckered out to do so, or just decided for whatever reason to sit tight. You know, run and hide.
I mean, I love, of course I love aviation and, never got my pilot's license. But if I could have flown like that, like having a Cub or a Champ and flying off a grass field in a rural place, I think I would have got my pilot's license because that's kind of the way it should be,
Yeah,
just for fun instead of worrying about all the other traffic and filing all these flight plans and everything else. I'd like to just walk out of the barn and get in a plane, fire it up, take off, and see if I see a Sasquatch.
Yeah, well, Kev, I don't think I ever told you this. I don't know if you were with us that day. I don't think you were born yet. I was flying over the Great South Bay with Dad in a Cessna 150. Mm-hmm. And I have to be honest with you, I never really liked flying, and I don't fly today.
Yeah.
I didn't mind flying at low altitudes. So what's the difference between 1,500 feet and 5,000? I don't know mentally.
Yeah.
But I was really uncomfortable with the change in height. Mm-hmm. Well, one day we were out over the bay, and a Bonanza, I saw it out of my vision to the right, looking out of the windshield. It came across our nose at about 200 miles an hour and close. Mm. And I said to myself, how the freak did that happen? I mean, it freaked me out, how close this guy was. And, either Dad didn't have the plan or this guy didn't have the plan. But that was way too close for comfort.
Too close for comfort, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the last time I went up. But I'm totally with you. I've often thought that if I was in Iowa or Nebraska with cornfields around, wide open spaces, I would absolutely enjoy buzzing around in some small plane over the fields, knowing that I could drop into a wheat field or corn stalks if the engine died.
Yeah, exactly. If something goes wrong, you just set it down.
That's all.
Your biggest worry is how to get out of there.
And hope there isn't a Bigfoot or a dog man in there.
Or a pack of wolves.
Or a pack of wolves. That was an awesome account, and I knew you'd get a kick out of that because the guy's talking about this whole Mariana's turkey shoot and the Hellcats, and here you are showing me your Hellcat model before we started today.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah. Super cool.
So what do we got, brother, in listener mail?
Yeah, we got some good listener mail. So the first note comes in from Dwayne. And Dwayne writes, Dear Bill and Kevin. Well, first off, Dwayne, thanks for mentioning me. He says, I appreciate how you've broadened the scope of the show to include other cryptids and aspects of the paranormal. I particularly enjoyed the recent segment on the Tower of London. Yeah, and he says, this past week's incident with the scouts on Round Mountain, that was up in West Virginia, took place within Monongahela National Forest. In fact, in the books, I've read all 8. There were 4 or 5 encounters within the MNF, as we will refer to it, which encompasses a large part of eastern West Virginia. He writes, I believe Kevin mentioned a few weeks back that he was planning to ski at Snowshoe Ski Resort in West Virginia this winter. Snowshoe is in the immediate vicinity of the Monongahela National Forest also. So I thought it would be a great opportunity for Kevin to do some field work exploring the MNF, weather permitting, of course. The MNF is one of my favorite hiking, backpacking spots, though I've never seen anything. Keep up the great work and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, awesome email.
Yeah, thank you so much.
By the way, I think it's Monongahela.
Monongahela. Okay, yep. Sounds good.
Monongahela.
I like MNF, Monday Night Football.
There you go, Monday Night Football.
But it's cool. Dwayne, I will be looking around, if this COVID mess subsides a little bit and I can get up there and do a little snowboarding. And, of course, my snowboard, I've said this before, if any of you are out there skiing sometime and you get on the chairlift with somebody that looks a little bit like Bigfoot and he's got some Bigfoot stickers on his board, that might be me. So say hello.
Hey, Kev, I don't know if we've done this in a while. Just tell the listeners briefly what happened to you up in Utah that day. Yeah. That's kind of funny, you know? Yeah,
I have a I believe sticker on my snowboard right on the front of it, so you can't kind of miss it. You know, if I'm riding on the chairlift, the tip of the board is sticking up in front of me, and it says I believe, and it's got a big hairy man on it. And we're sitting there, we're getting close to the top of the mountain. I think it was in Park City, Utah. Beautiful place to ski. And guy next to me, he looks at me and he's like, do you really believe? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, don't you? He's getting off in the top of the forest like, whoa. He's out there.
Yeah. Looking around like, geez, I wonder, either this guy's really weird or I don't want to be in this place.
Exactly.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Cool.
All right, we got another one coming in from Casey. And Casey writes, hey there, I love listening to your podcast. I work the night shift, and I am a forklift driver in a warehouse. I listen to your podcast on a Bluetooth speaker I hang from my forklift. You and Kev, yeah, he says, you and Kev do an amazing job. I raccoon hunt with dogs at night when I'm not working, and I'm always listening, smelling, and looking for signs because I believe I'm likely to run into one of those things being in the woods at night in the middle of nowhere. He says, I live in Boaz, Alabama, in Marshall County, and I hear you mention your buddy Nate, that is a researcher. Would love to be able to get with him if he's close by and go Bigfoot researching. All the guys I raccoon hunt with are non-believers, and they've been raccoon hunting their whole lives. If they only knew all of the things about Bigfoot that I know, they too would be believers. But they won't listen, so I keep it to myself. I've heard y'all talk about encounters at Nakalula Falls in Gadsden, Alabama, and that's just about 13 minutes from me. If you could keep me informed with stuff you hear about around here, I'll do the same. Please hook me and your buddy up because I really want to get to the bottom of this. Thanks, Casey.
Yeah, excellent job, Casey. And Casey, just so you know, on an individual basis, there's no way of me keeping in touch with you and informing you of what's going on.
But we'll do it on the podcast.
Absolutely.
We got some good stuff down there.
Absolutely. That was going to be my next statement, that just keep listening and we'll keep beating the bushes and telling the stories as they're coming in or as they've come in. And really appreciate this guy working in the warehouse with his... I could see him, buzzing around the forklift with the speaker and...
No doubt. Yeah.
That's a cool way...
And Casey, my daughter graduated from the University of Alabama, so roll tide. And I got a little soft spot for Alabama.
Hey, he said he's 13 minutes away from the falls. So that means that he's got Bigfoot in his backyard.
Exactly.
It's just a question of the timing. But the other thing is, I don't know if you're out in the woods with a pack of coon hunting dogs, 1, 2, or 3. I do know of people who have seen Bigfoot while with their dog.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're going to be so eager to come to you with a pack of animals around, because no animal wants to be pestered by barking, snarling dogs.
No.
No. So
it's a little bit like us talking about the wolves. It's like it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Well,
even these guys that hunt for cougar, they put the dogs on them, and the cougar goes up a tree eventually.
Oh yeah. You're
because
never gonna,
the dogs are
catch a cougar unless you do that. You got to tree it. Yeah.
They're gonna. The dogs are relentless.
Yeah.
Wow, great mail, Kev. Great mail.
Yeah, super stuff this week. Thanks, folks, and keep your reviews coming. We've been getting tons of 5-star reviews, so please, while you're listening, as soon as you finish, go to your favorite podcast player and give us a 5-star review. Those 5-star reviews are super important because they bring more listeners to the podcast. And if we get more listeners, we're able to continuously improve the quality of the podcast. And Lord knows, we've improved a lot since the beginning.
Excellent. And keep in mind, folks, that your purchasing of one of my books helps us out a lot. So please indulge. And remember, I've got those autographed copies up on eBay, so check them out too. And by the way, if you should be wandering through the Monongahela this weekend, remember, always carry more gun than you think you're gonna need. Sleep tight.